Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here. It was great seeing you down south, my district in the Everglades, and thank you for all of your efforts on Everglades restoration. I'd like to ask you about an issue that I think not only certainly impact the ecosystem in South Florida, but perhaps in the southeast region of the United States, and that is oil drilling off the coast of Cuba. It's my understanding that in order for a foreign government-owned company to operate in the U.S. and bid on leases in the U.S., they must first be incorporated in the United States. Is that correct?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay. Well, recently my staff contacted the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management and the Bureau of Land Management to try to get a list of all foreign government-owned companies that have leases in the United States. And they were surprised to learn that the department doesn't keep a database of what companies are foreign government-owned. The foreign government-owned companies are just mixed in with the regular privately owned companies. So I believe it would be useful to at least be able to track these companies and what government owns them. Could you help me with that, get that information?
We will, and let me ask whether Director Abbey or Boudreaux have any information on that question.
It is correct that in order to obtain a federal OCS lease, a company needs to be registered in the United States through the relevant State Department.
Perfect. That's okay. I just want to make sure that I can get the information on the foreign government-owned companies. If you could help me with that,
yes,
that would be helpful. Thank you. A few months ago, I believe in June, you were in Spain and spoke to Repsol officials regarding their proposed drilling plans in Cuban waters. Is that correct, Mr. Secretary?
That is correct.
And in that meeting, or in any other meetings you've had with Repsol officials, did you a topic come up or reiterate U.S. policy on doing business with state sponsors of terrorism, or have any discussions to discourage their actions in Cuba?
You know, our focus, Congressman Rivera, has been to make sure that we do everything within the legal boundaries that we can operate in to protect the environment and the people of the United States.
So I would assume that to mean more of a cooperative effort to make sure and protect the people of the United States, which is important to make sure and do every possible measure to do that. But you're telling me nothing was ever done by you to discourage their participation in collaborating with a state sponsor of terrorism in those offshore oil drilling efforts?
We do not have authority over other countries and what they do with respect to their...
I understand. No, you can't stop them, but did you ever try to discourage?
Our program, Congressman Rivera, has been to make sure that we do everything we can within our legal power.
Okay, well, let's talk about the
people and the environment of the United States.
Let's talk about the legal power. In terms of the, did you ever bring up having the Bureau of Industry and Security also be allowed to inspect the rig to ensure that the Export Administration Act and the Export Administration Regulations 10% de minimis U.S. content rule were being respected? Speaking of legal authority, has that issue ever come up?
You know, Congressman Rivera, this is an issue where the State Department and other agencies have the lead, and we are participating because of our expertise, but I do not know whether those conversations took place, and I don't have an answer to your question.
Okay, well, recently colleagues of mine here, along with Chairman Ileana Ross-Layton, sent a letter to the President regarding this issue. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'd like to ask that that letter be submitted for the record.
Without objection, it will be part of the record.
Thank you. I think it's of great concern by the lack of effort in this administration-wide, whether it be your agency, State Department, or anyone else, that no effort has been made to prevent a state sponsor of terrorism to drill approximately 60 to 70 miles off of Florida's coast and providing economic aid and comfort to the dying Castro dictatorship. And I hope that in the future, the administration will do everything to make sure that companies comply with sanctions that apply to businesses that do cooperate with sponsors of state terrorism by perhaps, in your agency, withdrawing leases on federal lands and waters. That could be a start to certainly send a signal that this type of activity is certainly frowned upon, collaborating with terrorist regimes. Finally, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to draw attention of my colleagues to legislation I've introduced with Congresswoman Ross Layton and Congressman Diaz-Balart and Representative Sears, the Foreign Oil Spill Liability Act, that would apply the same Oil Pollution Act responsibilities and liabilities and Clean Water Act penalties that a domestic responsible party would face to a foreign responsible party for a spill that pollutes U.S. waters and beaches. The penalties and liabilities would be triple. Currently, the burden is much lower on foreign spillers, forcing the American taxpayer to cover the cleanup costs, and members can contact my office if they wish more information on that legislation. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
I thank the gentleman, and his time has expired, and the